because what's happening right now is white people are suddenly experiencing what black people have been experiencing for the last 50, 60 years, which is all of a sudden they can't afford to buy homes in the neighborhood that they grew up in, and they can't afford to start businesses in the neighborhoods where they grew up in. That's gentrification, which is happening everywhere. And race is the cousin of economics. And people, why do you talk about race so much? Well, have you heard about redlining and racial housing covenants and sundown towns, and the way that, there were only 2, VA home loans that were issued in like the first 20 years of the program to black GIs. So there's so much that was segregated, that was handed to us, that we haven't addressed still to this day. And because we never addressed any of these things, they're now being applied to all of us. And the perfect thing to do, and I'll wrap with the housing thing, I know that you asked for 1 and I gave you 17, but housing is I actually developed a real estate curriculum that I taught to high school students and to adults. I had it translated live into Spanish, so I've spent a lot of time here. And the difficult thing is heirs property rights. For those of you that don't know what that is when a lot of black families, not just in the South, but throughout the country, they bought a piece of land, 20 acres, 40 acres, and then their generations of family live on the land. They pass away without paperwork that gives it to that next generation. And so what happens is it's called heirs property. And so that initial owner of the property now has 16 people that all have claims to that property. And so what they do is they don't approach the people that are living on the property. Investors will buy out 9 of the 16 people's rights to the property. They say, hello, what was your name? Hurley. Hi, Hurley, how are you? Great. And then I'm so happy to hear it. And then did you know that your family owns property in Atlanta, Georgia? You've got 40 acres out there. Did you know that? Well, your share of the property is 1/16, but I want to buy out your interest in the property, so I'd be happy to send you $1,800 today, right? And you're like, oh, $1,800, I wasn't expecting that, buying out my share of the property that I've never been to. But then what they do is they do that 9 times. Out of the 16, they buy out 9 shares of the property, and then they force that property to auction. And then the people that are living there on the property had no idea. They're current on their payments, they're current on their taxes, but their property was forced to auction. Now, that's something that has been happening in the black community for years, and it's still happening today. But they just did it to natives in Hawaii after the fires. So they tracked down native families. They said, hey, do you want to sell? No, I don't want to sell. Okay, well then I'm going to track down the lineage, and I'm going to buy out a majority stakehold in your property. I'm going to force it to public auction, and I'm going to go buy your property for pennies on the dollar. So it's called heirs property rights. And there's a lot of things like that that are happening. Before COVID, 5% of our homes were owned by multinational corporations. After COVID, 25% of our homes were owned by multinational corporations. That's a massive acceleration in 3 years. And all of the institutional investors are saying that companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, these institutional investors that own everything, are going to own 40% of our single family residences by the year